The first breath of dawn never brought comfort to little Arjun. It merely announced another day of running barefoot over cold marble floors, dragging a ragged broom twice his size, and listening to the cruel voice of his stepmother, each word sharper than her jeweled bangles. He was only 8, but his eyes had already begun to look like those of an old man, carrying sorrows much too heavy for his small shoulders. He clutched his stomach as it growled in protest. His stepmother, Savita, had denied him dinner the night before because he had dared to ask for another piece of bread. He had pressed it against his chest, not for food, but for warmth, until sleep finally claimed him on the thin mat in the corner. When the morning rooster crowed, he was up again. The house was enormous, filled with polished furniture, quiet hallways, and paintings that stared down at him like silent witnesses. Yet in all its grandeur, there was never a corner where he felt wanted. Savita ensured that. Her smile in public was painted with charm, but the moment doors shut, her voice turned venomous. "You're clumsy, worthless. You will never amount to anything," she hissed, her words carrying the stink of hatred. Every insult became a stone in Arjun's small heart, and yet, every night before he closed his eyes, he whispered to himself like a sacred prayer. "One day someone will see me. One day this pain will end." At school, Arjun was silent as a shadow. His teachers found him polite but unremarkable. The other children played in groups, their laughter bursting like firecrackers, while he sat under the neem tree, tracing circles in the dirt with a stick. He never brought lunch, only watching others eat from tiffins filled with hot rotis, curry, and sweets. His hunger was not just for food, but for the taste of affection, the feel of gentleness, the safety of being cared for. Sometimes, when nobody was watching, he pressed his forehead onto his worn-out notebook and let small tears roll onto the pages. Once, a kind teacher asked him why he was always so tired, but Arjun only shook his head. He had learned the price of telling the truth, more punishment from Savita, who called him a liar whenever others pitied him. So he buried his voice. He became air, unseen, unheard. Rajesh, his father, was a man of wealth and social stature. Known in business circles for his sharp mind and dazzling charisma, he traveled often, leaving the household in Savita's control. He never questioned the bruises on Arjun's arms, never noticed the hollow under his son's cheeks. When Arjun gathered the courage to approach him once, Rajesh brushed him aside with the absent-minded affection of a man too busy chasing success. "Be good, Arjun. Listen to your mother," he said, unaware that those words pushed his son deeper into silent suffering. Rajesh loved his first wife deeply. When she died, he remarried for companionship rather than love, convincing himself it was the right choice for Arjun too. But he was blind to what went on behind the closed doors of his golden home. One evening, Arjun spilled a glass of milk. It wasn't much, just a splash on the floor. But to Savita, it was enough. Her fury rose as though he had shattered her prized jewels. "Kneel!" she screamed, her bangles clinking like broken chains. Arjun obeyed, pressing his thin knees onto the icy marble floor. His body trembled, but he stayed still, his breath shallow. When her hand lifted in the air, ready to strike, time seemed to freeze around him. But at that very moment, the front door creaked open. Rajesh had returned unexpectedly, dragging his suitcase behind him. His polished shoes echoed against the marble, but he froze mid-step. Before him, his little boy cowered, tears dripping onto the cold floor, while his wife stood above him with rage curving her mouth. "What is going on here?" His voice boomed like thunder, cutting the air. Savita faltered. Excuses tumbled from her lips, but Rajesh didn't hear them. His eyes were fixed only on his son. He bent slowly, raising Arjun's chin. For the first time, their eyes met without barriers. Rajesh saw everything. The bruises, the fear, the silence heavy as stone. In that instant, guilt stabbed his soul with a wound so deep it nearly brought him to his knees. How had he been so blind? The realization was shattering. Rajesh turned to his wife, his voice no longer calm or polite, but edged with suppressed fury. "You have no place in this house if you cannot love my child. Pack your things and get out." Savita gasped, pleaded, spat venom, but Rajesh's decision was unshakable. Within hours her shadows were gone from the house. Yet the real battle was not removing her. It was repairing the soul of the small boy standing silently in front of him, unsure if this was just a dream waiting to vanish. Rajesh knelt before him, tears streaming. "I failed you, my son, but never again. From this day forward, you will never be alone." For the first time, Arjun's little body collapsed into his father's arms, not from fear but from the unfamiliar comfort of being held. The days changed like the soft arrival of spring after a long, harsh winter. Rajesh cancelled his constant travels, rearranging his life to watch his son grow. The household echoed with new sounds, simple meals sizzling in the pan, laughter spilling from the garden, and a boy's delighted cry when his father bought him new shoes, soft and shining, replacing the barefoot silence of before. Arjun was slow to trust the change. Sometimes at night he still woke in fright, clenching his fists for punishments that never came. But Rajesh was always there, sitting by his side, promising in whispers, "Sleep, my boy, you are safe." His eyes, once dim, began to shine with the light of being seen. Neighbors marveled at the transformation. Teachers noticed his sudden eagerness to learn, his laughter slipping out more easily. Even the children who once ignored him began to seek his company. The shadow had become light. Arjun's story began to ripple beyond the walls of his home. It became an unspoken lesson in the community, a reminder that wealth means little if one turns away from the suffering under their own roof. Parents whispered about Rajesh, some with admiration, some with shame in their own neglect of what truly matters. For Arjun, the journey was not about revenge or bitterness. It was proof of resilience, that kindness once found could rewrite the darkest chapters of a life. And so, the boy who once whispered to the night, "One day someone will see me," finally had his truth answered. Love had found him. Home had found him. And the shadow he once was had grown into light.